Buenas noches. I just returned from Colombia, and there's a story behind that I'll get to in a second. But first of all, I'd just like to welcome everyone to this evening's dinner. We celebrate this every year. It is a really momentous time because of the significance of what we're celebrating, which again I'll get to in a few minutes. So I want all the students to stand, please, that are here. All the students, please stand. Please remain standing, please. They still take orders. That's a good nice. I don't know any other way of showing the impact of scholarships than to go through this little exercise here. Look at these students that are standing here in front of you. Look at them in their face. And what you're looking at is the future of our country and our nation. I don't know how else to put it. The way that the United States invests in higher education through donations is unlike any other in the world. I just returned from the nation of Colombia, who's struggling to come out of all the drug issues that they had 20 years ago. And we visited 6 different universities, and they have great students there. But not once did we hear anything about what people do to give back. Out of all those 6 campuses, I only saw one building that was noted as being donated by one of their alumni. 6 different campuses, all right? And the future of our nation and the world is in the faces of everyone you see here. Every dollar that you give as a donor is affecting the future of the nation and the world. I don't know how much better that you can take your hard-earned money and invest it in something so valuable. So all of you that have donated, thank you so much. Please be seated. Let me just talk a little bit about what's going on in the college. Because I think it's really important that you understand what it is that we're trying to do. Change is never easy. And the change that we're doing, the scale of change, is pretty incredible. You know, to get a call from the president on Tuesday while I was in Colombia, you know, that isn't something that the College of Technology, as it was formerly known, would have happened. And it's not that we hadn't done good things in the past. I mean, it's obvious from all of our graduates here that have been very successful. But we simply weren't recognized. You know, we're known as an engineering university, right? And, you know, my goal, quite simply, is to be known as a Polytechnic and engineering university. I know that's a bold thing to do. But if you don't set those kinds of goals, then I think that, you know, you're setting a goal of being mediocre. It's as simple as that. And so we've taken on this very bold challenge. And when the president called, he said, Gary, you know, I'm just calling because I want to know how the transformation is going. And I want to know what I can do to help. You know, he is totally committed to what we're trying to do. The only reason I was in Colombia is because they have found out what we're doing. They wanted to know more. And now they're going to start sending faculty here to go through the same professional development we're offering all of our faculty and staff. They want our faculty and staff to go to Colombia to prepare their faculty, to teach the way that we want to have the learning environment that's prepared for the 21st century. That's a humbling kind of thing. And it is transformational. You know, these coffee cups you have, I mean, that was my idea. I mean, that's a symbol of what it is. When the liquid, the warm liquid was poured into it, it transformed, didn't it? It went from, a kind of a plain black vanilla kind of thing to something that is, has some beautiful imagery on it. And it's very, very symbolic of it. So you take that home, and every time you fill it up, think about the impact that you're having and what the impact of this college is going to have in the future of this nation. Here's another thing that you can think about. Get the image back in your mind of all these students that were standing here. I won't ask you to stand again. Tom was joking about, working on 8-track tapes, right? So these students are going to be graduating, 2015, 2016, 2017. They're going to be working about 40 years, right? So rewind 40 years. Now, these are for, the older people here, not the students. I know not all of you. There's only 2 or 3 of us in here that can go back that far. But, 40 years ago, it was basically 1975, right? Was there an internet? No. Let's see, were there these things? No. What kind of car engines did they have? What kind of technology did you have in the vehicle you came? And what were those vehicles like back in 1975? These students are going to be working in a world where 40 years from now they're going to be at the pinnacle of their career, or they're going to be miserable failures because they haven't been able to keep up with what is accelerating every day in this nation. I was just reading an article about how technology continues to accelerate. And this is what really struck me when I was in Colombia. Medellin is recognized as one of the most innovative cities in the world. It was ranked that by Forbes, okay? One of the top 2 or 3. Okay, this is Colombia, all right? Back in 1974 or 1975, we were kings, okay? No one could compete with us as a nation. Mostly because most of the other nations were destroyed in World War II, and they're still trying to recover from all that. And our borders were safe because we had 2 large oceans to protect us. So our infrastructure remained strong, and we had no competition. Think of it, what it's like now. With all these nations that are competing, how can we possibly stay ahead of that if we don't have a strong higher education system? And we actually can't do it unless we innovate in higher education, because we can't outrun them. There's more than 1 billion smart people in China. They say that for basically every genius in our country, there's 10 in China. The scale is too big. We cannot compete by doing what we've been doing for the last 100 years in this nation in higher education. That's what the president sees related to the transformation of our college. That's what the Board of Trustees sees about the transformation of the college. We can't outrun the competition, but we can outsmart them. And we're going to do it by innovating our learning system and the way we prepare graduates for the 21st century. Our goal is that in 5 years, Purdue will be recognized for engineering and the Polytechnic. It's as simple as that. We don't have all the answers yet. Not everyone believes in what we're doing. That's the way change is. But we are going to get there because we're determined, and it's the right thing to do. And it's hard. It's very hard to change at this scale. But you as donors should be very, very proud that you're making the face of the future of not only this college, but of Purdue University. Purdue is going to be recognized as a national leader as it is today already because of the Polytechnic. Do you realize that the federal government, through the Department of Education, is looking to the Polytechnic Institute to define competency-based education for the nation? When has that ever happened in the college? It actually is pretty rare for Purdue to even be leading that in many cases. That's one example of how we're transforming it. And the faculty and staff here are dedicated and doing everything they can to make that happen. It's a bright, bright future going forward. And the donations you make every day are going to make a difference. And I cannot tell you how appreciative I am for that kind of donation. And I believe the best way of validating anything that you do is through what is referred to as external validation. I can stand up here and wave my hands and talk about all the great things, but it's me. I have a little bit of a special interest in this, right? I had a meeting about 3 weeks ago, with a woman who wanted to donate some money. You've heard of the Dauch Alumni Center? She came to visit us, and she wanted to know more about the Polytechnic. She could have given her money anywhere. Her husband, Dick Dauch, was a management grad. He was a fullback on the football team back when we were good. Uh-oh, I think he's filming this. There goes my good season tickets. But anyways, you know, I don't know how else to say it. And please, this is not about me. This is about us, the transformation that we're doing. She was thinking after she heard President Daniels speak highly of us that she would give us $2 million. And when she left, she decided to give us $3 million. Just in the 30 minutes I had to describe what it is we're trying to do for the college and Purdue University. That's one small example of what this transformation can mean in the future of this college. So I hope you are as excited as we are. There's some apprehension in this because, you know, whenever you lead, you don't know exactly what's over the next horizon or over the next hill. And sometimes we may have to step back to get it right. But there's no one behind us right now. You don't have to worry about what's behind us. It's only what's ahead of us. And that's a good place to be, to lead in that place. So thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you. We have a student that I'm going to talk about, and there's actually a couple of students here I think I need to say something about, just to give you a highlight of how the scholarships really affect students in general. One student in particular I'd like to talk about is Jordan Lukomsky. She's a sophomore in CGT, and she received the Maurice G. Conoy and Shriver undergraduate scholarships. Joe Shriver, by the way, was a graduate in the mid-1990s, was one of the first 100 graduates of Google, and he did quite well, and he's given money back. And that's, by the way, this is for students. When you get really good, we'd like to see how you might want to contribute back. So this is what she's doing. This is, again, is an example of how your dollars really affect the future of this nation. She's using her time here at Purdue to focus on her studies instead of figuring out how to pay for college. So that's obviously, you know, everyone has that. But Jordan has designed and coded applications and video games that help teach entrepreneurial concepts to impoverished girls in India. So this is that whole connectivity that we have going on around the world. She's also using it on a driving game to help teach young children about food transportation. And then finally, a video for a stigma eye surgery. this is just one example of how our students impact and move the world forward. So, we also have this large campaign coming up. It's called the Ever True campaign. You're going to hear a lot more of that. But it's something that's going to be done throughout the university. We have a very, very high goal at this point as far as, our funding and the work that we need to do going forward. But, the Douk example that I gave you a little while ago, I think there's many, many more of those in our future. So please pay attention to what's going on with this campaign over the next few years. It's going to be $2.019 billion, 2019. That's what that number means, because that's when we're going to be done, we hope, by then. A couple of things that have already happened that you need to know about. We're going to get a brand new building for the first time in a long, long time. It's going to be shared with engineering, which I think is a great sign, to be sharing space with one of the greatest engineering programs in the world. It's called the Bechtel Innovation Design Center, and it's just for student use. It's student project use. There's no courses that'll be scheduled in there, and it really goes to the core of what it is that we're trying to do, which is learn by doing, project-based learning, team kinds of open-ended design projects. We're also renovating Conoy Hall. We did some renovation this past summer in the basement as well as the third floor. That was all funded by Purdue University, giving us additional fund. And then we're going to be doing a lot more in advanced manufacturing, especially with this $3 million that's coming from Sandra Douk. And then you've heard a little bit about competency-based education already. So again, there's a lot going on. Read the newsletters, keep in touch, because you're going to hear a lot more really, really good things coming up here in the future. We're going to have a student come up right now to say a few words. He's a major right now, actually a double major in MET and ECET. So although he's a senior, he told me he's probably going to be here another year since he is double majoring, but that's okay. It's not a bad idea. From Bremen, Indiana, if I remember right. His name is Stephen Arndt, and he's president of the Association for Mechanical and Electronic Technologists.
Hello, everyone. As Dr. Bertoline referenced in his remarks, your generosity allows Purdue Polytechnic to stay on cutting edge and keep students, like myself, relevant to industry standards, responsive to the world's challenges, and helps us produce results that make a difference to the world around us. As he mentioned, my name is Stephen Arndt. I'm a double major in MET and EET. It's a 5-year program. I first started in mechanical engineering, took a double ET class. I really enjoyed it. However, I didn't want to drop the MET portion, so I was talked to the advisors, see how long it would take to add another major, and she's like, you could probably do it in another year. So I was sold. So I currently act as the president of AMET. Thank you all for allowing me to stand up here and share my experience with AMET and their story of impact. Before I explain exactly what AMET is and what they do, let me kind of describe to you where AMET has come. So AMET was once called an organization called the Association for Electrical Technologists, or AET for short. That was primarily an organization for electrical technologist students. Then we had a donor, Scott Whitlock, who's a 92 EET alum. He's now president and CEO of Flexware Innovation. He wanted to sponsor the organization in a Rube Goldberg competition. And Rube Goldberg has a lot of mechanical aspects, so it required a lot of help from our mechanical engineering students. So, and thus the organization became known as the Association for Mechanical and Electrical Technologists. But after a few semesters, we decided to drop that name, so now we're just referred to as AMET with no acronym. So today, AMET encourages any and all majors who are interested in making an impact to improve and move our world forward. So we're not just looking for METs or EETs anymore. We're looking for the CGT students, the CNIT students, and even outside of the Polytechnic Institute. So what exactly is AMET's purpose? AMET's purpose is to give students a chance to work on technical challenges that are bigger than themselves, in groups of people that are both diverse and both academically and ethnically. These challenges are designed to improve people's lives in a variety of different ways, for it to be scholarship, fellowship, entrepreneurship, or just curiosity itself. One such project that we have, or one of our biggest ones, was the Rube Goldberg competition I mentioned before. With me tonight to share his Rube Goldberg experience is Joe Eaton. He's the Vice President of AMET. Joe, would you like to come to the stage?
Hello. So last year, I was a member of our Rube Goldberg team. And for those of you who do not know or haven't heard of Rube Goldberg, it's a system of chain reactions and simple machines to make a really complicated solution to a simple problem, such as erasing a chalkboard or opening an umbrella. While we were building the machine last year before the regional competition here at Purdue, we didn't really have that much of a budget. The team worked with roughly $500 to make the machine and get everything working. At the regional competition, we placed second, which allowed us to move on to the national competition. Thanks to a generous donation from, again, Scott Whitlock and MTA, we were allowed to have the funds to get team shirts, kind of like a team uniform, as well as secure transportation to the event. Without those generous donations, it would not have been able, or we would not have been able to go to the national competition. We would not have been able to win second place at nationals as well as regionals. And we wouldn't have been able to see our faculty advisor, Davin Houston, dye his hair pink and wear zombie makeup. And that's all to support the team. When I think about the time that I spent on the Rube team, I can safely say that going to the national competition with the team has been one of my favorite experiences here at Purdue throughout my college career. And I know it's going to have a lasting positive impact on my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Sharing our stories of impact are important to students because it not only an opportunity for us to show you your dollars at work, but also provides reinforcement that you believe in a quality education and experiences that we are receiving. Now I'd like to talk to you about another project. I would like to introduce you to AJ Hawker, our AMET project lead for our aerospace project.
All right. Hi there. I'm AJ Hawker, and as Steven said, I'm the project lead for the aerospace division of AMET. And one of the projects that we do is called the balloon team. And so on your screens now should be a picture of our balloon. It's called a zero pressure balloon. And what that is a balloon that is filled up to a certain amount of helium and then rises to a certain altitude and stays there for a very long time. Now with that, it comes with a lot of calculations, a lot of prep time, a lot of actually making the balloon by hand because they don't make these weather balloons that big necessarily to buy. And one thing that didn't take forever was the acquisition of funding to actually buy the material, to actually take the time out of the day to go to a certain room and actually make these calculations. And it was through your guys' contributions, and this was about a year ago that we actually sort of made this balloon. And what we did with this balloon was actually go into the Global Balloon Space Challenge, which is held, I can't remember where exactly it is, but when we went into this competition, we actually got all the way to the finals and then actually won this competition for design. And the main reason was that we spent a lot of our time focusing on the project as a whole, working as a team, and not so much trying to find out if between the 4 or 5 of us, if we had enough money to actually buy our materials, or if we screwed up the purchasing to go back and buy something else, because we thought, well, heck, we might be out of money. But we didn't actually have to think that, because we actually had the funding and the backing of our administration to go after these goals and say, it's okay if we messed up, because well, we can use it for some other project or something like that. And that's an example of how your guys' impact contributes to our group. But another example I wanted to show to you was when we had a launch about 2 or 3 weeks ago on GIS Day. I can't exactly remember what that was called or the acronym for that, but what it was a local high school had the opportunity to come to one of our launches. And with that, we thought it'd be really cool if they were able to help us find out what altitude it was going to. So during the whole process, we set up the whole payload and got our helium tanks ready to go, but we didn't know how much helium to put into it. And so one of their duties was to take a sheet of paper that I designed, which with certain calculations in it, and actually after collaborating with the other sort of 89 people that were there, which was not, of course, the best situation. It was just a little, if we mess it up, suddenly 90 people were watching us go, oh crud, we didn't have enough helium, and it falls back down. But their calculations were relatively correct. Like, we compared them each other with a little bit of variance. It was okay because we can, add a little more helium at the end just so it goes up. And so basically that example was to show you that you're not only impacting students here at Purdue, but you're actually impacting society as a whole, and particularly the community here in Lafayette. And I thought that was very important, and that you guys need to know that it really is impacting life in the past and in the future. So from my team especially, thank you.
Thank you, AJ. AMET has a pretty successful past couple of years with a couple of other projects. So some of these other projects include our robotics team. That's led by Josh Vandemark. In 2014, we placed first place in the National Robotics Challenge for its 50-pound autonomous sumo robot. So what that is they create a 50-pound robot, and they place it in a circle with a whole bunch of similar robots, and you just press the button and it pushes all the other robots around it out of the ring. So that was a national competition. We took first place. We also have a Grand Prix team that we compete in the race every year. That's led by Spencer South. Hopefully this year we'll be able to upset the 3-time champ, Jimmy Simpson. As for our 2 other new projects we just kind of started recently, we have a smart fountain, and that's led by Taylor Hubbard. That entails building a miniature Bellagio fountain. It's a very interesting project as it's a lot of mechanical and electrical aspects, but in a water application. And recently we picked up a project from Cummins. So we had Cummins from Columbus, Indiana. They came by and they saw AMET and what we do, and they wanted to have us create a small 50-scale 3D printed engine for them. So they supplied all their CAD files to us, and the team right now is working on trying to scale it, getting all the fittings and tolerances just right. And what Cummins hopes this project will be able to do is they can take this engine and go to middle schools and high schools and teach younger students exactly how an engine works by using this visual tool. Just so you would be able to see all the pistons firing using LEDs and the motions. And these projects and competitions allow us to showcase our talents on a national stage, and it helps students stand out in a vast field of engineers. And the importance can be seen through the exchange of information. Students apply the knowledge and team building skills they receive from coursework, and they can apply them directly to real-world science. And we now have the capacity to effectively communicate our ideas. We can interact around questions, analyze the data, connect with employers, and solve any kind of problem that we face. That impact and support is what you guys provide. I can honestly say participating in AMET has been a golden star in my resume, and has been provided me with a great experience here at Purdue. I'd like to thank all of you for believing in what a Purdue Polytechnic education can provide, so I thank you.
As each one of them has said, and I just want to repeat one more time, they don't do these things without our support. And it just, tell your friends, tell anybody that can help. This is where it all happens, and as Gary said, Polytechnic is pushing the education strategy of the world, and we want to keep pushing. I briefly mentioned the Dean's Council, and I'll take 1 minute here and sort of dwell on that. Gary has about 20 senior industrial former leaders or leaders that meet about 3 times a year, and Gary generally puts an agenda together. He comes in and wants to talk about where's Polytechnic going, and we offer all this sage advice, and then by about the middle of the afternoon, we're on our agenda and telling Gary what we need to do and those kinds of things. But it's just really an excellent interchange. We're a very compatible group that represents business and industry across the United States, and it's been fun. My particular membership is, I think we finally figured out I've been on that council about 24 years. And so I've been through 3 deans. I started with Dean Gentry, and then Dean Depew, and now Gary. And it's been fun to watch the transformation of the school and see all the things we've done, and the number of individual and corporate sponsors that have really jumped in on this whole thing. So it's all because of what you do and other people do that really makes all of this possible. Polytechnic has made a call for change. And that's exactly what we're all about, because as we change, as Gary said, You know, we're hearing about it in Colombia. We're going to be hearing about it from, you know, the Japans and the Germanys of the world. We already are to some degree. And so those changes really are going to open the doors of the world to Purdue and what we are able to do with the Polytechnic, and you're all part of it. And again, I thank you very much. And again, thanks to everyone for being here tonight for this celebration. As you can see, it's not just the university, it's each student that really thanks you for what we're doing and what can be done. And as I said when I talked about what Judy and I do, it's all about what are the needs and what kind of a future are we going to build. And as Gary said, you know, we are producing the future of America, and that's what this is all about. Take a moment and give thanks that we are able to help. And with Thanksgiving coming up in a couple weeks, that's probably a good thing to think about. So everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, safe travels home. Don't forget the photo opportunity up here. Have a great evening. Hail Purdue.